Wagwan, Internet Mandem. It is Multiplier here to answer a question that many people have been asking, and I have a fantastic answer. The answer may surprise you. The question is how loud should I make my track? The answer is as loud as the quietest track in your particular genre. What you want about Multiplier? That's crazy. Obviously you want to make your track loud, right? No. Let me explain. Basically, every single platform apart from SoundCloud, and I'll come back to SoundCloud in a few moments' time, every single platform apart from SoundCloud does something called perceived loudness normalization. And what this does is adjust for the relative loudness differences between different tracks. So let's say you have a really loud track and then maybe a really quiet track afterwards, and the platform will simply turn up the volume of the quiet track such that it's the same level of loudness as the track that was before it. Therefore, if you make your track loud, it's going to get turned down. If you make your track quiet, it's going to get turned up. And if you think about what that means in terms of the actual waveform that results at the playback stage, if you make your track quiet, it's going to have a much bigger dynamic range compared to the loud track. It's almost like if you turn the loud track down and the quiet one up, the loud track may be working in, say, a range like that, but the quiet track will be working in a range maybe like that. Bigger. Now there are limits to this, and that's why I said you want to make your track as loud as the quietest one in a particular genre and not just as quiet as possible. And that's because the playback platform can only turn up and down a particular track a certain amount, it's not infinite. And so by making your track as least as loud as the quietest track in a particular genre, it's definitely going to be within that acceptable range to be turned up and down so it hits the proper level of loudness, but it's also as quiet as possible so you're getting the most dynamic range you possibly can. And so now let's talk about SoundCloud. SoundCloud is the only major platform that doesn't do this automatic perceived loudness normalization. Therefore, if you don't adjust the volume on your sound card or your headphones or whatever, and you play a loud track on SoundCloud versus a quiet one, it's going to sound better. And therefore you could argue that you want to make your track as loud as possible for SoundCloud, but as quiet as possible for everywhere else. However, I would argue otherwise. Let me explain. If a playback platform doesn't adjust for perceived loudness, such as SoundCloud, then the listener will do it manually. But wait, Multiplier, don't some people listen to SoundCloud on a playlist in the background as they're doing something else? Yes, they do, but that's why I suggest making your track as least as loud as the quietest one in a particular genre. That way your track won't be problematically quiet. It may definitely be on the quiet end, but it's not going to be problematically quiet. They're not going to have to reach for the volume in the middle of a playlist because there'll be other quiet tracks in that particular playlist that they are listening to. Interesting stuff, interesting stuff. Up in Multiplier, I will catch you guys on the flippity flip.